You start this, I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah? You and what army?
I don't need an army. I've got a Krogan.
Remember when Mass Effect Andromeda released? And it got a bunch of hate. Some valid, but most of it was an overly exaggerated negative perception of the game. Well, I played Andromeda on day one, and I'll easily say that it wasn't as bad a game as everyone else said it was. But in 2026, long after the patches, the outrage, and the memes, I wanted to know what Andromeda is actually like to play. So now we have this video of my review of playing Mass Effect Andromeda in 2026. But before that, we have to go back to 2017 when Mass Effect Andromeda launched, amid unprecedented hype following the original trilogy's critical and commercial success, with pre-release trailers generating millions of views and fan anticipation peaking at E3 2015. The game promised expansive exploration in a new galaxy, self-contained storytelling without depending on the trilogy's stories, and innovations like open-world planetary traversal. However, it achieved a Metacritic score of around 75 across all platforms, the lowest for a BioWare game at the time, with sales underperforming expectations amid a crowded March window against Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. To add how crazy a comparison this is, both of those games are exclusives on PlayStation and Switch consoles, respectively, on release. But, to be fair, EA also expects their games to generate hundreds of millions of dollars in profits. So I guess, if the game is unprofitable, it's a failure to them, which is a fair conclusion. BioWare Montreal led development, lacking the Edmonton veterans trilogy experience, leading to inconsistent execution. Frostbite, optimized for battlefield shooters, struggled with RPG elements like inventory, party AI, and animations, forcing custom tools amid understaffed teams. Facial animations became infamous memes.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
So when you're watching cutscenes, you can see that the characters' mouths are the only thing moving, which is a trippy experience. It's kinda like watching someone who had a lot of facial surgery done on themselves. Development spanned for several years, with a 5-year pre-production that yielded prototype ideas like procedural planets and player-controlled spaceflight, but ended up being scrapped late for feasibility, leading to the compression of the core gameplay being developed and built within the span of 18 months, which explained the day one EA Access preview issues that exposed animations, bugs, and lack of cohesion with the dialogues. The original Mass Effect trilogy set benchmarks for narrative depth and companion relationships, fostering expectations Andromeda didn't match. BioWare positioned Ryder as a new hero akin to Shepard, but without the continuation of the lore from the previous games, leading to a lack of emotional investment. Pre-launch hype emphasized exploration returning to Mass Effect 1's roots, yet we ended up with repetitive fetch quests and procedurally generated remnants that felt hollow. Andromeda was fighting an uphill battle from the start. With carrying the history of the trilogy games as a comparison, game development struggles, scope crunch, and a launch that was too soon for the game. I will say though that the combat system was a significant evolution from the original games, introducing jetpack mobility, which is one of those things I love the most in games these days, that enabled dynamic movement, This design shift created multi-level battlefields where players hover for elevated shots or escape threats, contrasting Mass Effect 3's primary horizontal cover shooter focus. Profiles replace rigid classes, allowing skill point allocation across combat, biotic, and tech trees to unlock flexible bonuses like enhanced recharge speeds or combo damage, fostering build experimentation without identity loss. Gunplay feels tactical with responsive recoil, destructive cover, and weight-based handling, surpassing Mass Effect 3's mechanics through faster pacing and aerial integration. Andromeda might be one of the best sci-fi RPG BioWare has ever made, released at the time at least, and it easily has the best combat experience in the series. The open world in Mass Effect Andromeda allowed players to explore across multiple planets in the Helios cluster, marking a significant departure from the original trilogy's more linear hub-based planetary visits. You get to navigate vast planetary surfaces using the Nomad vehicle, discovering points of interest, scanning resources, and raising planetary livability through activities like remnant vaults. This design emphasizes a sense of scale, with environments leveraging Frostbite engine for lush, realistic visuals. The open world in this game looks beautiful, and it kind of fits the whole narrative of exploring undiscovered planets. It's so lore-wise, it makes sense why the planets feel empty. But for a gameplay experience, it is a noticing issue. My biggest issue with open world games, especially the so-called AAA games, are the MMO-style fetch quests, scanning materials, destroying devices, and just killing enemies. Unlike the trilogy's meaningful side quests, Andromeda pads 70 hours with low reward tasks. Because open world features seem like something they do to say the game is open world, but they don't actually bother to make it worth exploring. Open world in this game is just scale without density. Unlike the original trilogy's epic Reaper War, Andromeda emphasized exploration, base building, and personal growth amidst survival challenges. Characters drive much of the narrative appeal, with companions providing emotional depth through loyalty missions and banter. Though the main plot draws criticism for its underdeveloped antagonists, dialogue often lands awkwardly, contributing to mixed reaction. Yet standout squad mates like Drac and Vetra aren't as bad. They're the positive dialogue in this game. I personally have no issue with the direction they took with the story because they introduced new characters and personalities to the series. However, the pacing becomes an issue if your game is 70% exploration and base management. Then you realize after 40 hours of gameplay that the story is just character introductions, which would be a season 1 of a series, with the expectations of follow-up seasons to expand on the world. And maybe there was more to be had, with the tease of a multi-species vessel carrying various species but was delayed in its journey to Helios. This narrative hook, referenced in early game dialogue with data mined files, revealed plant elements like Ark interiors, Quarian squad mates, and loyalty missions tying to rescuing the delayed Ark. However, in August of 2017, BioWare announced that they were releasing their final patch for the single-player update, which confirmed there was no story DLC, redirecting narrative closure to novels like Mass Effect Andromeda Annihilation. This cancellation, amid studio restructuring at BioWare Montreal, amplified perceptions of Andromeda as an unfinished product, leading to Andromeda's narrative being incomplete with multiple threads primed for the possible DLC. There was so much unresolved story in Andromeda that it is easy to understand that people would assume it was a rushed and unfinished product that EA didn't really care to send out as polished as possible and wanted to milk the Mass Effect IP for whatever they could. So, after playing Mass Effect Andromeda in 2026, if you're a Mass Effect purist, expecting narrative depth akin to the Shepard saga, it's worth just skipping Andromeda, because it prioritizes exploration over the trilogy level of character arcs. Ryder as a protagonist lacks the emotional weight of Shepard, with squad loyalty missions feeling shallower than ever. But if you're an RPG enthusiast, you could enjoy Andromeda's open-world galaxy that featured 6 explorable planets with dynamic weather, and the character customization is pretty good, so that's a positive. So, if you want to play Mass Effect Andromeda in 2026, it is a solid game if you just want to play it in isolation from the trilogy, because unfortunately, it suffers from the biggest mistake of coming out too early and never got the chance to actually grow. But let me know in the comments what you think about Mass Effect Andromeda. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see me continue to work on this stuff, please be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.